How many cards should each player receive at the beginning of the game?
Hey there, welcome to today's video. In this episode, we'll be discussing an important question when it comes to card games. How many cards should each player receive at the beginning of the game? It's a fundamental aspect of gameplay that can vary depending on the specific game you're playing. So, let's dive right in.
Determining the number of cards.
When it comes to card games, the number of cards each player receives at the beginning of the game can be determined by a few factors. 1. Game rules. The first and most crucial factor is the game's rules themselves. Different card games have different rules regarding the number of cards distributed to each player. These rules are typically outlined in the game's instruction manual or rulebook. Make sure to consult the specific game's rules to determine the correct number of cards for each player. 2. Game type. The type of card game being played also plays a significant role. For example, in traditional playing card games like poker or rummy, the standard rule is to distribute a fixed number of cards to each player. However, in other games like trading card games, TCGs, or collectible card games, CCGs, the number of cards can vary depending on the deck construction rules and game mechanics. 3. Player count. The number of players participating in the game is another important consideration. Many card games have different rules for the number of cards distributed based on the player count. For instance, a game might specify that each player receives a different number of cards in a 2-player game compared to a 4-player game.
Examples of card distribution.
Let's look at a couple of examples to illustrate the variations in card distribution at the beginning of different card games. 1. Poker. In a standard game of poker, each player is dealt 2 private cards known as hole cards that only they can see. Additionally, there are usually 5 community cards dealt face-up on the table that every player can use to form their final hand. 2. Bridge is a popular trick-taking card game where each player is initially dealt 13 cards from a standard deck of 52 cards. This distribution is consistent regardless of the number of players participating. 3. Magic. The Gathering. Magic. The Gathering is a popular trading card game where players construct their decks before the game starts. In a typical game, each player's deck consists of 60 cards. However, it's worth noting that the number of cards in a deck can vary based on the game's format or specific rules for tournament play. That's a wrap for today's video. We explored the question of how many cards each player should receive at the beginning of a card game. Remember, the number of cards can vary depending on the game rules, type of game, and player count. Always refer to the specific game's instructions or rulebook to determine the correct distribution. Have fun playing your favorite card games, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care and bye for now.